Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Our Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about anecdotes and how life is essentially a collection of anecdotes. You as an individual have had many experiences that have led you up to where you are today, right? And the person that you were 10 years ago is no longer the person that you are now, right? And why is that? It's because you've lived, it's because you've done stuff. And every time you've done something, it's changed your worldview. Some things maybe changed it a little bit. Maybe sometimes you had a big revelation because of some experience you had. Whatever it is, those little and big experiences all culminate to create the person that you are today, because you wouldn't be who you are if it weren't for the way that you lived. And whatever it is that you've done in the past, right, be it good or something that you're no longer proud of, it's all a lesson for yourself. Have you done something that you're not proud of, something that was perhaps quite nasty, quite mean-spirited or quite selfish? If you've taken away the lesson from it and then applied it to yourself for the future, then you have learnt because of that, and you wouldn't have been able to learn that lesson and not made those same mistakes again if not for the fact that you made those mistakes the first time. It's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to get things wrong, and it's okay to do things in a way that isn't ideal, right? Because you're never going to get everything to be perfect. And if you try, then you're going to end up being a little bit discontent and you end up not doing very much at all, because you can't always have great days. Not every day can be fucking brilliant. Not every day can be the best day of your life. And it shouldn't be an attempt to try and do that. What you should just try and do is just try and live as earnestly and true to yourself as possible, right? So I'm trying to think of a good anecdote that I could tell you that sort of represents this in a good way. And I think I'll start with this one. The way that I started this YouTube channel, the specific kind of videos that I'm doing. The first video that I did that actually kind of did numbers was the one that I did called Why I Dislike Central London. I was in Central London because I needed to meet a couple actors for the film that I'm making, Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, right? And I had to meet one actor at 5 o'clock and I had to meet the next actor at 8 o'clock. Right? And the idea was I was going to meet another actor at like sort of 6:30, but they ended up sort of pulling out. So I sort of said to the actor that I was going to meet at 8, hey, can you do 6:30? They said they couldn't. So that's fair enough, right? So I figured, right, well, I've got 3 hours now. And I've got the camera. I might as well just film some videos where I talk to the camera and just see what happens with it. So I made one video. I was in front of the House of Parliament. So I thought, why not do a video about Central London in general and why I dislike it? Because I'm in Central London, right? And I made that video. That video ended up doing really well, and because of that I started doing more and more of these, and the more videos I've done, the more little anecdotes that have come along the way. Like today I went out filming and I stepped in a fucking bog. Like I was trying to cross a river and there was like these various stones that I had to sort of cross and make one. You know, in Takeshi's Castle you got to do, there's that one like the stepping stones thing. I was basically having to do that, and I ended up dipping this foot like this far deep. That's why it's all fucking muddy and stuff, and this foot stinks. This foot fucking reeks, right? But I did that and it was an experience. And now it's a little thing that if there is some conversation where we're talking about crossing rivers or going through nature in general, I have this to pull out. I have this little experience. Or there was a time I went out with my friend who's really into like survival, wildernessy sort of stuff, and we went out into the woods and he showed me like all the various like whittling and like you do this thing with the sticks to try and make a fire. He showed me all these various sort of things, and so now if that topic ever comes up down the pub or whatever, I can refer to the fact that I went out with this friend and the knowledge that he gave unto me. I can then try and pass some of it on to those people. And it's the same way that if I talk to a historian and I have a really nice conversation with that historian, I can then I won't remember everything he said perfectly and I'll probably recount it wrong, but it was an interesting little conversation and it can come in useful if it's relevant to this other conversation that we're having down the line, right? I had a really long and quite fun discussion with the sound recordist on one of my films, Scorched Earth, directed by myself and my good friend Jeffro, and it was Jeffro's idea, the whole film. He's the mastermind behind it. And we were sat in this Airbnb and we were talking, and it turned out he was a pastor or a vicar or something like that. And so I was just immediately intrigued and I just threw a barrage of questions at him. And we ended up getting onto the topic of heaven and hell, and he had this really insightful way of thinking of heaven and hell. Kind of like, I don't know how to put it, because I don't really want to put words in his mouth. So this is a bad recounting of the way that he said it. But basically, like, the idea was heaven and hell are all here in a sense, almost like different dimensions, but not quite, almost in a spiritual way, if that makes sense. They're not like places that you go, they are kind of here already. And that's not a great way of recounting it, so I'm very sorry if I got it wrong, but the fact that I had that conversation with that person was so interesting to me that I've occasionally brought that up when religion has come about, and I've brought up that point because he made a really nice and salient point to me. And you know, that will happen as you talk to interesting people, and the more interesting people you talk to, the more interesting things you'll have to say down the line to other people. And that's kind of the key of it, is you're trying to make as much of an interesting life for yourself as you can possibly achieve. Because, you know, it's nice to sometimes have a relaxing day, but you can't always do nothing. Sometimes it's important to get out there and live, because the more that you live, the more that you will feel one with the world around you, and you feel contented with yourself. There's nobody out there that feels truly happy that has just done nothing their entire life, right? They're deep down, even if they might say they're happy, deep down they're very unhappy. But someone who has gone out there and lived this crazy life, I'm not saying they will be happy by default because they've done that, but there is a higher chance that they will be happy the more life you live and the more positive and negative experience you have that can round out your worldview and your persona in regards to who you are and how you project yourself for others. You will be able to figure out an identity for yourself, and it's through those experiences that that identity comes around. Like, say if I'd been born in China, for instance, I would be sort of the same person at the core, but my personality would be shaped by the world around me. It's kind of the nature versus nurture sort of discussion at the end of the day. And, you know, if it would be very different to, say, if I was born in France or in the Congo or whatever, right? I would be a different person because my surroundings are different, and so I would have different experiences. You know, maybe I wouldn't go to open mics down in Isleworth. Maybe I would instead go to, I don't know, like sing-alongs and play-alongs out in the desert, right? Because that's my surroundings, and that's where my community was formed, and that's where I found myself and who I am in this thing, right? So whoever you are and whatever your circumstances are, they're more interesting than you think they are. They really are. You're not a boring person. You might get yourself down and feel like you're a boring person because maybe you try and talk and people like roll their eyes, but that's just the fact that you're with the wrong people, really. And if you can find the right people, then you will find yourself, because we aren't all just one. No man is an island and all that sort of stuff. And all you can do is just try and be the best person that you can be, and just say yes to stuff. If someone invites you out and you've got like a little bit of energy to do it, then say yes. Why not? Because even if it's something that you don't necessarily feel like doing, you might get there and maybe it will turn out you don't enjoy it, and you'll be sat there sort of thinking, oh God, I want to go home, I want to go home. But you did go, right? And now you're back at home. Now you've done that experience. It's done, right? And now it's another little experience to pull out if it becomes relevant in a future conversation. So that's what life is. It's a collection of anecdotes. You've got thousands of anecdotes in your back catalogue, right? You've got a big library full of books, and sometimes you'll pull out a book when it's relevant to a conversation, flip through it and go, there we are. This thing happened, or this thing happened, or someone told me this and it reflected upon my worldview in this sort of way, or whatever, right? Because all you can do is try and be the most you can be, and just go out there and live the most life that you can live, whilst, you know, balancing yourself with your energy. You know, like if you just go out and overwhelm yourself and just get yourself exhausted, like staying out till 4 a.m. on the piss every night, that's obviously like, sure, you might get back and like in a few years you'll be glad that you kind of did it, or like maybe you'll regret doing it. But the fact that you regret doing it is part of who you are today. And the fact that you didn't like enjoy it has taught you a lesson. And everything teaches you something, even if you don't feel like it is. Even if you feel like it's not teaching you anything right now, that knowledge will become apparent once you see it, right? So I hope you managed to get something out of this video. I know it's a little bit all over the place. I hope it made some level of sense. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching this. Please leave your most interesting anecdote, or maybe your least interesting anecdote, down in the comments below. and we'll get a bit of a discussion going on, because we've all got fun stuff to say, we've all had experiences, and you know, we all come from different cultures as well. So you know, my experience down the pub is going to be different from an American's experience down the bar, that's going to be different from a Turkish guy's experience down the shisha place, or whatever, right? It doesn't matter, because you're only you, and you are you because of where you are, and that's fine, that's good, because it's important to be yourself. So thank you very much for watching this video, everybody. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.